Hi, Papa Tom here again. Actually, you might call this part 3 of my self-confession or profession. I graduated from college. Now I had 2 degrees. I'd been through the service, and I had a huge college debt, but I had a job. I met a young lady while I was going to school. I married her. We ended up having 3 children. I worked for my boss. There are 2 things, call them assets. One, I like to work. I worked hard and I worked efficiently and I worked smart, if you will. Secondly, I love my family, and I was consistent and persistent. So we thought the first thing we'd do is buy a home. Everybody owns a home. Why not buy a home? Okay, we'll buy a home. So we saved up money, and all in the meantime, I'm paying on my student loans. And we saved up enough. We found attractive homes where you can get in no money down with the GI Bill. That two years I spent in the Navy were sure paid off. Got me 4 years of education and a home. Well, we moved into the home, the new home, and I'll never forget my wife and I lying side by side. And those of you who are married know of pillow talk. Yes, that's when you chat, probably the only time you really talk to one another. You're lying side by side. And I remember it's almost as though someone went 1, 2, 3, go. And that we said together, how in the God are we going to make the payments? Well, we did. I worked at the studio, and she took care of our child, and we made it. We made it. We scrimped when we made it. But I love to work. God, I got up every morning and I couldn't wait to get to work. I had to work. I love working. Work. That is the key. And then I got to thinking, maybe I should have more than what I have. And I started thinking back to the 5 high schools I went to, all at different times, but at each one, from an instructor, I would get a word of wisdom that at the time I didn't understand what they were saying. Like they talked about the drip system, they talked about the triangle, they talked about getting outside the box. What did they mean? I never understood at the time they said it. So I got to thinking about these things, and I got to pondering them and wanting better than what I had for my family. Not for me, but for my family. So I worked hard, I studied hard, and sure enough, because of my capacity, I should say lack of capacity for grades and what have you, I got fired from every job I ever had. Like, for instance, one time I was an elevator operator, and I was going from floor to floor. In those days, you had an operator who actually ran the elevator, and I would take it up so many floors and down so many floors and stop and open the doors and let the people in and let the people out, and they'd tell me what floor they wanted, and I would go to that floor and open the door and let them out and let the next people in. And a lady got on one day and she said, I want to buy a bra. I said, fine, that's on the 3rd floor. So I took her up to the 3rd floor. She got out. She got in a little while later and she said, young man, you were right. They do sell bras on the 3rd floor, but they only sell sizes. And ladies, please forgive me. I don't know bras. But they sell, say, 1 through 10. And size 10 on up is on floor 12. I said, okay, thank you. That's a good bit of information to know, especially for an elevator operator. So I'm operating the elevator, and in gets this little old lady with a cane, and she says, young man, I want to buy a bra. And I looked at her and I said, what size? I was fired. Right then and there, gone. That was just one of the many jobs I had. I had another job where I worked in a toy department in a department store, and I'm watching and selling toys to people. It's Christmas time. And the boss comes up to me and said, "Hey, we've had a bomb scare. Look and search for the bomb. If you find it, let us know." And they evacuated the store. And I'm looking behind the roller skates, and I'm looking behind the trains, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, I'm looking for a bomb? What, am I crazy? I left the store. Well, got fired. Needless to say. Well, anyway, I never held down a job but what I got fired, including cable. I was working the station, doing, I thought, a good job. I was there 3.5 years. And in walked the boss one day, and I said, I built this cable operation up to where I had a couple of employees, and one of them was an artist. And she would make the signs of starring so-and-so, or so-and-so was in the cast, or so-and-so produced it, and we would show it on the camera. And she was the artist. She also ran a camera for me. Well, it turns out she would only work in the morning. She was never there in the afternoon. So after a while, I thought, okay, enough's enough. I'm honest. I wrote down on her paycheck that she worked for 20 hours a week. And that's what she got paid for, 20 hours a week. Well, in walked my boss, and he said, well, son, you got to give her 40 hours of work, because in the afternoon she's with me, and she and I work on, important information about the studio and how it should be run. And I thought, something smells. I said, no, if she's working for you, you sign it. I didn't say it quite that way. I was a little more brash about it. But anyway, he got all red in the face and yelled, "You're fired." Well, in a big corporation, you're not fired just because the boss walks in and says you're fired. They have to go through all kinds of rigmarole. So they started. He made my life miserable, but I stuck it out because we had a profit sharing plan, where the company met, and I cover this in one of my episodes. When you work for a big company, I had 4% of my paycheck. The company matched it, free money. And you become vested 50% in what they contributed after so many years, 70% after so many years, and it was 100% after 3 years with the company. You got to keep all of the money that they contributed towards your growth. Well, I had 3 more months to go before I was 100% vested, so I wasn't leaving, for 3 months. No way. I don't care what they said. And what happened? They came down to me one day and they said, well, son, why won't you leave? We don't want to fire you because he's always giving you good reports because you were a good employee. And we can't show that we fired you when you were a good employee, so you have to quit. I said, well, I'm not quitting for 3 months because I want to be 100% vested. They said, nope, we'll vest you 100% if you'll leave today. Well, they gave me $3,000. That's a lot of money today. That was a lot of money then. So I took the $3,000 and went home and I said, well, hon, I'm fired again. Well, my wife got a little tired of that. Needless to say, we were divorced years later for just that reason. But I had to find another job. And this time I thought I would go at it in kind of a goal-oriented way. And I discussed that in my chapter on goals. So I'll tell you all about it next time.